Stand clear.
100% Wild Podcast.
So for all you listeners,
Hello, and welcome to
definitely not your favorite outdoor podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild Podcast, powered by DeerCast. This is episode number 309, if you're counting. And we are. That's Matt Drury over there.
That's Tim Chelswick.
A couple shed hunters.
That's right.
Successful shed hunters.
That's right.
And we've got in studio special guest. Well, we don't know if he's special.
He's a guest.
He's a guest.
He's in studio.
We'll find out if he's special. He's Logan Burk.
What's up, Logan?
Oh, not a lot. Living the dream, looking for sheds.
That's right. So Logan has helped, kind of within our circle in the St. Louis area. He's helped Aaron out a ton. He's helped me out a ton. I know Jared Lurk. He does a lot of stuff with Jared. And land management, food plots, and habitat, and all kinds of stuff. So I thought it's the perfect time of year to have him in and kind of tell us what we could be doing, what we should be doing, what he's up to right now, and just kind of, in general, a gamekeeper type podcast this episode. So
Yep.
that's what we're doing.
They call him the fireman. That's his name.
Oh, yeah?
Making his rounds all over town, putting out old flames.
All right, so have you encountered Tim much? Or
A little bit. I was going to say, do I need to hand you a guitar and I just sit here and look at you all awkward while you sing?
a la Dustin Lynch.
Yeah, I mean, awkward or impressed. It's hard. It's a fine line there.
Well, it's all through
Teach
the
their
eyes
own.
of how you view it, right? It's through
It's
those
true.
lenses.
That's true.
You might have
mean,
took it like he was impressed.
I try to be optimistic about
From
life.
this side of the dais, I might have took it like he's embarrassed for you. I don't know.
On this side of the guitar, I just saw my soul floating above my body. That's all I saw. But if folks like a little performance, they need to stick around because we have a really special surprise performance
Oh, great.
by one of our hosts.
No, well, if it's not you, it's me.
If you like
I don't know
music,
about it, so I'm not singing.
If you like your impromptu performance, then you want to stick around to the end of the show. We've also got a hot wildlife word, and we're helping our buddy Jerry out on today's question of the day.
All right. So
Kind of a gross, real wild clip too.
Oh. A gross?
It's gross.
Well, I thought today's real wild clip was this one.
Oh, sorry, I flipped it around.
So which one is it?
It's butt liquor.
Well, let's switch gear. Can we still switch gears? Because that's the whole point.
Yeah,
was to talk about this. That's why I gave it to you.
Depends on how easy it is to get the video on the machine.
Well, let's work on that. We got a ways till the podcast, till we get to the real wild clip.
We'll just stall all episode to give the guys in the truck time to.
So, Alan, do you have the clip that I'm talking about, the shed clip I'm talking about? Did Tim give that to you?
The link is in Slack. So
Okay.
if anyone knows how to take it out of Slack.
So, our production team of crackpots, start working on it. Because when we get to the real wild clip of the day, I'm expecting the clip that I asked for.
It would be nice to have what you requested.
I never asked for anything. So this would be the one time. So everybody's staring like, how do we do this? But somebody figure it out.
We'll take a USB drive and then we'll take it across the street.
We have Joe here. Joe can do anything.
Pretty much. Yeah.
all right.
In the meantime, we've got Logan. So I'm fascinated by fire because it's super dangerous. But it can really do a lot of good for a piece of ground. And I've got a field behind my house. It doesn't belong to us. I wish someone would come through with fire and clear it out because it's full of junk.
Like just weeds, or what are you talking about?
Yeah, not like broken down
like
cars
trash.
and stuff.
Like trash ain't gonna help you there.
It's just it's a dumpster. No, like little cedars, like scrub cedars that have grown up, and just a bunch of junk trees that have kind of crowded over this. It used to be a nice kind of open space.
Have you ever thought about looking at your parcel data on DeerCast maps and just contacting the owner?
Oh, I know who owns it. It's a weird trust. Like the people that own it live in England. They lease it to the quarry that isn't doing anything with it, just letting it grow up. So
That's a shame.
you don't
That's
seem
not ideal.
sincere
No,
about that.
yeah, it's a shame. No, that's a shame.
I'm paying for the real wild clip now.
Yeah, what was that you wanted me to do later?
Hey, it's not for me. It's for the listeners.
Okay, so fire, it's one of those things where obviously there's a lot of regenerative benefits that happen once you go through and burn something like that. This is the time of year that a lot of people, like now through March, April?
Yeah, into April.
Into April?
Yeah,
So,
as soon as you start getting green up, it gets tough to carry a fire, and especially with all the rain coming in this spring. But
So what's the process? What are you looking for? You came up and took a look at my new farm, and there was part of it that we felt like would do great to burn, and there was other part that had a lot of invasive weeds or species in it that you said, nah, if you burn that, they're going to come back and nothing else. So what are you looking for when you go into a farm and decide, what you should and shouldn't burn?
So on the southern half of yours, like we're talking about, it is full of Sericea lespedeza already. It's already pretty bad. And if you burn that off, like you said, nothing but Sericea is going to come back. It's a non-native invasive, and that would completely take over. You have a lot of native grasses and forbs and stuff already there, so it's better off trying to treat the Sericea and get it under control and then run a fire through it in a couple of years if possible. The north half was all just, it was like fescue and stuff, and there wasn't really much non-native invasive or anything in the woods or the fields up there, so we're looking at burning that off. And so the main thing I was looking for when I was out there is just mostly from a safety aspect of where our line's going to be, what are our hazards. If you're looking for snags that are close to the line, where is the safest place to put the line? So you got that creek that runs along the south side, pretty obvious break. It was on the property line anyways.
Yeah.
And then like on the east half, you're looking, so the field goes up to the edge of the woods, and there's a lot of snags there. But we were talking about that trail that runs inside the woods a little ways. You just go through, blow the leaves off of that 2-track, and that would be ideal.
So when we have to put the fire breaks in the fire line or whatever, and it hasn't. This field doesn't look like it's been touched in a while. So should I go in there and brush hog? The other side that's on the timber. Like, should I go ahead and brush hog that line and then disc it up, or you just go in and disc it up? And like, what are you doing to create a safe enough fire line there?
If you've got a heavy enough disc that you can just shove it down through all that duff and fescue and stuff that's there, you can just do a one pass like that. If it's not, then if you brush hog it beforehand, that'll make it easier on the disc, but it's not necessary. The only issue, I've seen guys try to brush hog lines in while all you're doing is just shredding it up and making more fuel on your fire line, and that's you definitely don't want to do that. You want to get disc it and get that dirt.
So if you brush hog it, you have to disc it.
Ideally,
yeah. Okay, because the disc that I have, I don't know that it would be heavy enough to, because it seemed like it was pretty thick through there.
That 3-point disc you got.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd probably be better off brush hogging it.
Okay. All right. So in general, though, like the timber part, there's a little bit of timber right in the middle of this field, and we talked about burning that, but you said I got some pretty timber in there. You don't want to scar up the trees. So what's the approach? How's it different when you get to a section like that? Because, we're looking for a northwest wind on this particular part, so it kind of burns its way out. But you're going to go right through the timber at some point. So what are you doing when you get to timber to make sure it doesn't get, too hot or the flame's too high, or what are you looking for there?
So when we're burning, you put your black line in so we're going to burn with a northwest wind is the plan. So we're going to start on the southeast. Mm-hmm. Start in the southeast corner and send a drip torch each way. So send one to the west and one to the north and kind of flank that fire and let all that just back in on itself. So it's still going to burn up all the fuel that's there. But rather than if you flanked it and then went up and lit the head fire to the north, then that would rip that fire right through there.
Okay.
You don't want that all that real hot flame going through there. So you're still going to burn underneath all the really good timber, but if you back that fire through there, it won't be near as intense and it won't scar up the trees as bad.
It's interesting. I never thought about the speed at which the fire goes through there and utilizing the wind to kind of decide if you want this to creep through here with low intensity or you want to blow through real fast with high intensity.
Yep. Huh. And then another thing you can do is, like a lot of that's south facing. So if you go through there, if you get a good enough black line in, so you kind of have to see what's going on when your boots on the ground while you're lighting. It might be the best thing to do. fire doesn't really like going downhill. It'll go uphill really well, but it doesn't like going downhill. So even when we get to that point, if it's trying to rush up the hill, even though it's fighting the wind, you might be able to go strip a line through the middle of it so it tries to back down the hill rather than, even though it's going to have the wind pushing it a little bit, going downhill is going to be a little tougher for it.
What tools do you use to strip a line through timber like that?
Just take your drip torch and run through the middle of it.
Oh, okay. So it's just, you're just creating a separation?
Yep.
Gotcha.
What's in a drip torch?
We mix, they've got just actual drip torch fuel you can buy, but we mix about 70% diesel to 30% gas.
Gotcha. That for the stability and
Yep.
like how it burns.
Yeah, you want enough gas in there to keep it lit, but enough diesel to carry the fire and continue to light while it's on the ground.
Okay, gotcha.
So when you put a plan in place to do a controlled burn like this, are you contacting any local, fire departments ahead of time, or are you trying to get a hold of neighbors, or as the landowner, I guess I would in that instance. But what are you doing to kind of some of the other prep work that's related but not really to the actual work you're doing?
Yeah, so contacting the neighbors is always a general courtesy, and especially if you can get them to help, even better. Or like I said, you can utilize their lines if they'll let you, because you're benefiting them too in the grand scheme of things. You always want to contact your local dispatch and let them know, because they're going to get calls. I mean, everybody sees smoke, they kind of get concerned, they start calling it in. So you want to call your local dispatch and let them know what's going on. A lot of those, we ran into that. A lot of them aren't there or answering. Some of them want to answer phone calls on the weekends. So if you know you're going to be burning over the weekend, it's good to give them a heads up over Thursday or Friday, somewhere in there.
Gotcha. So I was looking at a post of Dr. Grant Woods, I think it was this morning actually, and he was talking about they're getting ready to do some burns, and he had a little tool that was measuring the humidity.
Yep.
And I know humidity is a major factor in burns, and you want low humidity, right?
You want 50% humidity is kind of that sweet spot. You depending on what your goals are for your fire. So especially if you're ripping one through the woods and you want to accumulate or get a lot more of the fuels burn up, you want lower humidity. Now with grass fires, you can use a lot higher humidity because they're going to burn so much more intensely.
Is it because it's providing what? What is the humidity providing that makes it burn more intense or not?
The less humidity, the higher intensity.
So humidity is a suppressive factor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Almost like putting a fire blanket over it or something.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Much above 50%, you're going to have a hard time even lighting dry grass or seemingly dry grass, dead grass. Mm-hmm. Anything below that starts burning anything below 25% is not. If you see the humidity is supposed to get much below 25%, you better start rethinking whether or not you should light.
Yeah.
Because then it can get so intense, it can carry flames on the edge. It can carry sparks across your fire lines, and they can have spot overs, and that can cause issues there.
What are some of the big mistakes that you see people making when they think, oh, how hard can this be? I'm just gonna go out and
I'll do it on my
start
own.
some fires.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Just people that think, oh, it's not a big deal, or people get complacent. I mean, it's a lot of work when you're on the day of the fire. It's a lot of work. Going in ahead of time and having all your brakes in and established and really well, making sure all your snags are either blown around or cut down or make sure they can't light on fire. That's huge, because that fire is going to burn unless it rains that night, or then the next day. Typically that fire will burn for a couple days afterwards. Some of the logs and snags and stuff that are in the center of it.
We've all seen the online videos where it's gone wrong for people.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, we have.
It happens.
Not naming names, but
Sometimes you wonder if they're staged.
Sometimes it's really bad.
Yes.
Yeah,
I do not want that.
No, none of
we
us
will
want
be filming when you come to do the burn. We're going to produce it, for deer season 23, but I'm not trying to be famous about it either. I just want it to go really smoothly.
We want a how-to video, not a how not to.
Yeah.
That's right.
Don't do what Donnie Don't does.
So that's on you to do the how-to
Noted.
part.
So how many people, I'm sure it depends on the size of the piece that you're burning, but what's the bare minimum of number of people you would want to help out on a controlled burn?
if you can have 4 guys, that's usually ideal. No matter how the size. If you can have 2 drip torches, so you'll have 2 guys lighting in different directions, and then you can have 2 guys kind of running clean up behind them, making sure you want at least 4 or 5 feet of a fire break already there, whether it's blown leaves or disc line or whatever it is. You want typically at least 5 feet, and then as the guy is lighting, the guy behind him is kind of watching, making sure there's no spot overs, and he'll either have a blower or a flapper or a rake or some kind of fire suppression tool behind him, and making sure there's no spot overs. Once it gets in 10, 15, 20 feet, it's pretty safe, and you kind of keep on going down the line. So if you can have 2 guys lighting, 2 guys behind, one guy on each side lighting, 1 guy on each side behind them, that's ideal.
Okay. And the tools you kind of mentioned, anything else is that's considered standard issue gear that a control burn should have on hand?
Water units are awesome. If you can have some kind of sprayer or some kind of water unit, that would be ideal, especially if you get a snag on the line that's on fire that you don't feel comfortable cutting down or whatever the case may be. If you can have even like a 30, 40, 50 gallon sprayer, a lot of guys use like for small food plot sprayers. If you can hook up like a wand sprayer to that would be ideal.
Put in the side by side and just have it ready.
Yep, just have it ready to go. Rakes are always good. Flappers, it's just sounds exactly what it is. A stick with the end of a mud flap on it, so you can just lay it on. Yeah. They work good for grass fires.
Okay.
Lay it on that and it just snuffs it out.
Okay. So flapper, I thought initially you meant like a 1920s dancer or something.
Be interesting.
Leather boots and you can stomp it out. Yep. There's always that option too. We get in on that.
Dance.
So does it matter? You're talking 4 guys, but like if you're talking more acreage, does it matter? Does the size of the farm matter? How many people you need?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you have multiple ignition crews, or if you're close to like a road and you're having a lot of smoke going on the road, you might need to have guys up on the road, kind of directing traffic, slowing people down.
Gotcha.
And yeah, the bigger the fire, the more people you want, just to be able to keep running line and checking it and making sure you don't have any spot overs.
Because we're going to do roughly 35 acres or so. I mean, it's not like it's a huge, I know you've done much bigger farms than that, or you've talked about doing, having a couple jobs yet this spring where you have several hundred acres to burn. So it's not like it's a huge task, but as someone that's never done it, it seems pretty monumental.
Yep. Especially if it's your ground,
my liability.
Well, and that's if you go through like some kind of, like whether it's MDC or NRCS or some kind of cost share program, they will send a forester or somebody out to write a plan, and they'll give you exactly how many people that they require that's on that fire.
Gotcha. Do I need to do that? Nah.
We'll get it under control.
What could go wrong?
According to him, nothing. No.
Well, if we burn up the night, I'll just charge them too.
Nice.
That's right.
Have you ever found any weird stuff after a burn, like remains or old machines or whatever?
Not anything that we didn't know was there already that I know of. I had some issues with trail cameras. You always want to make sure you pull trail cameras.
Yeah, they don't stand up well.
Tree stand straps, because when you burn the bottom ones, the top ones, so you want to be careful with that. Yeah, anything that you know is there that you don't want to be burned, better off getting it out of there.
Yeah, makes sense.
Or putting a line around it where the fire can't get to it.
How long after it rains? So if you got rain in the forecast and you don't get the burn in before the rain, how many days after a rain do you have to let it kind of dry out to be able to burn?
Of course, it depends on the amount of rain, but typically around 3. If you have 3 good drying days, you should be able to light after that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's cool. Like I'm excited to see the video from the.
Yeah, we see Mark and Terry, obviously, the Forest, Wade, Perry. They've been, Zach, I know, helps up with Forest. They do it all the time, every year. And I know Dad at first, early on, it seemed like maybe he was hesitant, but since they started doing it a few years ago, that he said that his warm season grasses just come in so much better. And of course, in turkey season, they see the benefit of turkeys going out there and pecking in the fields and all that stuff.
Yep, you're grilling all the bugs for them.
Yeah, I have a question about food plots in this regard. So right now, it's a blank canvas. There's nothing there for food. And so the part that we're talking about burning, that north end, we're wanting to put in a decent sized food plot. If I were to put clover in, can you go in and, after a certain amount of time, can you go in and like frost seed some, or is it too late really, or not really even frost seeding? You're to the planting part of the season, because spring planting for clover, aren't you talking late March, April anyways?
Yeah.
Could you go in and capitalize off the fact that you had burned off that area and not have to really do much work as far as like disking or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're exposing that bare dirt. As long as you burn all that fuel that's on the ground and you got bare dirt, that's ideal. And we've still got some nights that'll get below freezing. We'll have some frost heave, and it'd be perfect to go through and put in your clover plots. The only issue, I've seen guys where they'll let all the weeds grow up at least once and then go through and round up to kill it off to kill that much more of the seed bed, and it's less weeds are fighting. But if you can get that clover up and established immediately after the fire, then it might be able to choke everything else out.
Like how long would you wait till you seeded it after the burn?
Immediately.
Yeah.
While the ground's still smoldering.
Melting the seeds.
Fire seeding.
as long as it's cool, as long as it's cool enough to not burn your seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How wide are the fire breaks, or how wide do you need to be safe?
We typically try to do at least 5 foot wide.
Oh, it's not even that bad, really. So just one pass or one disc.
Yeah, if you can
through.
get one good disc line that's just bare dirt, that's usually
Yeah.
sufficient. Depending on the height. I mean, if you've got like switchgrass that's like 8 foot tall, you're going to want to go out farther.
Yeah.
Sure.
But
What about overhang? I mean, are you worried about like how high will the flames get there? Yeah, like are you worried about any overhang of branches or trees or anything like that on that break?
on the line, so snags are a huge issue. So if you have a lot of fuel around, a snag is a dead standing tree. So if you get those snags to light on fire, they can definitely cause issues. So you want to either get the fuel away from them so they won't light on fire, or try to shove them over, cut them down.
What about like this property had a lot of big old trees that have fallen over on the fence, and they're on my property line. So, some of them I have a feeling we're going to struggle with getting them moved, or cut up. That means some bigger trees.
Yep.
So it won't burn. Like, what do you do in that instance? Will it burn like hot enough and long enough to burn that stuff? Do we need to just try to like get it further into my line? And will it burn it, or it's too big to like burn it all the way?
Those dead logs on the north
Yeah.
line. So there, you would definitely want to cut it off the fence, and whether you take a tractor and shove, you want to get it either in the fire, inside the fire line far enough that it's not going to throw sparks outside of it, or just get it out completely.
Yeah.
But more than likely, it's depending on. That's another place that humidity comes in. The higher humidity, stuff like that's typically not going to light. The lower humidity, logs and snags and stuff are a lot more liable to light.
So in this instance, this farm, the size of it, what are you looking for when you're looking at the forecast coming up? What are you going to be looking for?
Wind direction, wind speed, and humidity are the three major factors.
Like what humidity are you looking? What levels are you looking?
Below 50%, but like I said, but below 50, above 25.
So it wouldn't necessarily light those big trees, those big fallen trees, on fire necessarily.
Not necessarily.
So
but
we need to get rid of. We need
to get rid of them just in case. I mean,
Okay.
it's not worth the risk to
I
hope
wonder
for the best.
if I could pull them if we get them cut up enough, I can pull them into where the rest of that timber is.
Yeah, that'd be ideal. As long as you keep them off the trees you want to keep.
Yeah.
You don't want to scar up your good trees.
Yeah. Yep.
Do some trees pose more of an issue? Like I'm thinking of an eastern red cedar that's resinous, and I would think they would, if you got a few out in the middle of a field that you're burning, they're probably going to catch. I would imagine.
Especially if they're out in the field by themselves and they got those real low branches where they're allowed to branch out, those can go up pretty good. Yep.
So do you try to work around them, or you just let it roll and hit them?
If you want to keep it, you better either get the fuel away from it, or try to light at the cedar while the fire's low, and burn away from it in all directions.
Gotcha. I can't imagine too many people wanting to save cedars Seems like
You'd be surprised. I mean, they take forever to grow. So especially if you're using them as a screen plot or some kind of fence line or something. I mean, if somebody doesn't want them to go, then yeah, you got to be more careful with it. But
okay.
some guys have wars on cedars. I mean, I don't hate them. They have their place. I mean, if you have just solid cedar thickets, obviously that's not great. But
Yeah.
they're native. I mean, they don't hurt nothing.
I know, Terry always talks about the cedar being such great bedding. And I know, like, we had Dr. Grant Woods, we had Daniel on, and he was like, oh, that's the first place I'll go.
Cold
in.
under a cedar.
Yeah, and I mean, Dad swears by it. He's like, some of the best spots on the farm are where I have cedar thickets, and I get what Daniel was saying. There's no way for there to be any growth underneath it. You look underneath there, it is pretty barren. So there's no forage or anything like that, I guess. But
I think it kind of it's relative, because in some of the places where I hunt in these Ozark foothills, these south-facing slopes that have cedar thickets on them are some of the only places that the deer, like the only real bedding cover that the deer have.
Yeah.
And so I find that at least where I hunt, the deer really do relate, and they travel through those
Great travel corridors.
because you can't. I mean, you have to be within 15 yards to see anything.
yeah.
So in those instances, I think they're helpful to have around.
So that's a kind of a good transition into just timber stand improvement and what you could be doing this time of year on your property to improve bedding. So what are you looking for when you go through a place? And I know we've talked about it with, the lease that I hunt, and potentially trying to do something out there to make, try to make it to where the deer are a little bit closer to where we're planting these food plots and get there a little closer to, before it's pitch black out. So, what are you looking for when you walk a farm and you're consulting someone?
Getting sunlight to the ground. Sunlight to the ground is key. So if you can get rid of that overstory or make pockets, make holes in it, and get sunlight to the ground in places, that's the name of the game. And so what I'm looking for when I go through, and especially if you're looking at it from a habitat standpoint, you want to get rid of the less desirables from, as far as if you just want to get bedding area for deer and turkeys, like we were talking about. Get rid of your maples, your hickories. I mean, they don't add value. They're just standing wood. I mean, they don't produce acorns. They don't produce food. So you want to leave more of your oaks, red buds, some of your brushier stuff, and get rid of all the stuff that's not producing any kind of food for the deer, and then open it up and get more sunlight to the ground.
And then do you go through and, do some prescribed burns in those instances, or do you just let it go?
If you can burn it, then that'd be even better, because you're getting a lot of that stuff. You'll have a lot of leaf litter covering the ground. So if you can get all that off there, you'll have a lot more of the seed bed that's there to germinate and grow up. It'll typically do it on its own, but if you can get a fire going through there and get a lot of that leaf litter off, that'd be ideal.
Do you find that after a fire, the pH changes in the ground? Any measurable difference?
That's not something I ever looked into, actually. It would make sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because leaves are typically more on the acidic side.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you get rid of a lot of that, then you don't have all that breakdown getting into the soil. I would say I guess it would probably stay the same, but it probably wouldn't continue to get more acidic.
I keep digging into that one.
I'll have to look into that.
So anything else that what are you looking for? A certain size diameter of trees that you're, are you hinge cutting? Are you,
Nope.
What are you doing?
I'm not a fan of hinge cutting at all. I mean, it has its place, but I've seen where guys went through and did an entire TSI by hinge cutting trees, and that makes a mess.
Yeah, how do you even get through that?
That last
Exactly.
the
The deer don't want
Montgomery
to walk through that
farm,
either.
they did that on the one section of the farm. They did a lot of that. And it kind of looks sloppy too, to be honest. I mean, it just doesn't look
Right.
over. Not that I guess matters, but I like a more pretty look. Your timber can look pretty if you do it the right way.
Yeah.
And when you got a bunch of trees kind of hinge cut, it doesn't look overly appealing.
No, and I mean, even like TSI, when you're dropping that amount of trees, depending on the stocking rate that's there, if you're going through and taking out, I mean, say you've got 120 basal area and you want to get down to 60, you want to take half of it. I mean, you're putting a lot of material on the ground, and it gets thick then too. So you kind of got to be careful how you're dropping stuff and make sure you don't get it. I mean, if you don't want to walk through it, typically a deer doesn't either. So if you have all that stuff on the ground, sometimes it's better to slash it up a little bit. But
So what, the hack and squirt where you're killing the tree that way, or what are you doing to kill the tree? Are you totally cutting it?
a lot of times we'll totally cut them off. Some of the big ones, especially if it's something like, I don't know where that one's going, or if it's going to fall into something else, you can girdle around the bottom of the tree. Depending on the size, sometimes we'll double girdle them and then treat that bottom girdle with herbicide to kill it off.
When you say girdle, what are you doing there?
Go make a circle around it with a chainsaw. So you go about half a bar depth in at least, and just make a cut all the way around the outside of it, and make sure that thing connects on each side.
And that just kills
Yep.
it. Yeah.
You're getting rid of the epidural layer of the tree, I think, and that's where all the nutrient flow through a tree is, on the outside of it. So if
Gotcha.
you can separate that and put a herbicide into it, that'll kill the tree.
So you're cutting its spine.
Yep.
Cut the blood vessels out of it. You
Yep.
can't transport that stuff.
That's the idea.
Yes. Well,
What else you need to know, Tim?
I'm going to go out and start a fire this afternoon. I pretty much got it figured out.
Go
Thank
go
you.
home into that on your side of the fence. and
Where
see
you
what
burning
happens.
that?
Going out to the backyard. I'll be back in a little bit.
I'd make sure I'm not anywhere near that.
Better check DeerCast wind check. Make sure it's not blowing the wrong way.
Beth, what's the humidity like?
Is what mile per hour are you looking to be under when you're looking for a good burn day?
Ideally under 25, or
Oh,
ideally
shit.
under 20.
Even that, I would
20
think
is
this high.
20
No?
can be pushing it, depending. And again, it's all situational. So if you're burning on the edge of a cedar thicket, and all those cedars are blocking your wind anyways, I mean, you can be burning with a 30-mile-an-hour overhead wind. It just depends on what's happening on the ground.
Gotcha.
right in front
Hell,
of you.
I was thinking you were looking for like 0 to 5 or 5 to 10 or something like that.
No, and if you don't have enough wind speed, that can actually
won't.
hurt you, because it won't keep pushing your fire along.
No, that makes sense.
Or if it's swirling and going in different directions, sometimes you can have those back pushes where it'll start trying to head fire back towards
Yeah.
your brake while you're getting going, and you don't want that, because you have some spot over issues there.
Good info.
Well, we pretty much know everything we need to know about starting fires.
So as you head into the food plotting time of year, then what are you doing to get prepared for that? I assume that you're, say, what, late March, early April, you transition from fire into food plots, or?
Hey, sometime in April,
Yeah.
typically. Yeah, just equipment maintenance, making sure everything's ready to go, kind of studying the DeerCast satellite maps, making sure, kind of getting the game plan together from there.
So if someone wants to, hire you or where you work to do this consulting and do this type of stuff, where do they find you guys? How can they get a hold of you?
So they can get a hold of me. I'm on social media. I think Instagram on Burk Ranch and Farm Ag Services, and then I just run under Logan Burk Ranch and Farm Ag Services. One of the guys I contract with a lot is Corey Wolf with Antlers and More Wildlife Habitat Solutions. He does that stuff full time, and I do a lot of work with him, help him out a lot.
Great. Yeah, we'll link all that stuff up in the show notes.
Awesome.
Been finding many sheds?
Not a whole lot yet. Found a couple on your farm.
Yeah.
That was pretty nice.
Yeah.
But no, from what I'm seeing, I'd say probably at least 60 to 70% of the bucks on trail camera are still holding.
That's what Andrew Bennett was texting me last week and said this weekend, and was saying the same thing. And it's so weird. We were talking about it here in the office that, Mark and Terry, it seems like they were seeing a little bit more, had dropped earlier. And heck, I feel like up until last week, up until like the last 5 to 7 days, we were probably seeing 60 to 70%. But here recently, I feel like I'm starting to get to that 50% or less, because I'm seeing more and more where, they're one side or both are totally gone. But it is interesting difference, in geographic location, what the deer, how long they carry. Or assume it's been so mild here in the mid, in our section of the country, it's been super mild. Other than 2 or 3 mini cold stretches, it really hadn't been that bad.
I had this theory that Chinese balloon was going over to survey our deer antlers.
How many corn piles you have out at the season?
Oh no!
Yeah, no doubt. The other thing, it's interesting because you hear different reports, but you wonder like, well, is it the cold weather? We really ought to have some deer biologist
Scientician.
on. What is the trigger that really sends them to where it's like a bunch of them at once start dropping? Because you always have some that will hold into March and real late. You're like, oh, this is weird. Is he not healthy or something wrong with him? But I don't know if that really has any effect on the following year. Their growth in the following year.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, it doesn't matter when they drop. They're still gonna they'll catch up. Even if they drop late, they'll catch up by the time
It's
they
crazy.
go hard for them. It is wild how it works. And I've still seen a lot of, I guess you could call it rutting activity. I mean, still fresh scrapes popping up everywhere, or existing scrapes reworked.
Same. I've seen on the new farm. There's been quite a few actually, quite a bit of sign. Hell, today on trail camera we had a new buck show up a pretty nice one, and it's just like we've had when I put the contract on, we put some in this county, so we were putting out analogics and corn and all that stuff, and put out some trail cameras to see inventory wise what was there. I was hopeful we would catch it, and see what kind of bucks were in the area, and I felt like we had seen them all, and then this new one showed up today, and he's nice. So it's I can't wait to get some food there and hunt it this fall and see what we can. Hopefully have better year than last year.
Here's hoping.
Yeah. So Mark said he said I'd find more spots and get more trail cameras. Well, I got another spot, so we'll see check one box.
And you're making it better.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
All right. Well, our buddy Jerry has a question for us in this week's question of the day.
All right. The question of the day is probably presented by the all-new Finisher Series turkey vest, apparel, and accessories from Blocker Outdoors. Built specifically for avid turkey hunters, the Finisher Turkey Series takes the quality apparel Blocker is known for and adds crucial features to help you focus on the hunt and not your gear. So I know Mark was just at NWTF this past weekend. Well, by the time this airs, it'll be a week or so.
Yeah, the next week.
But, man, he just kept going on and on about, because the Blocker was there, they had a booth and all that stuff, and he was just going on and on about how awesome all the gear was, and he was looking forward to checking it out this spring. So I know we got a package shipped here with the new vest and all that. Pretty cool. So looking forward to trying it out.
I don't like to get blood on my stuff. So
just don't kill anything?
Yeah. I like to keep it pristine.
Yeah. My stuff lasts for years.
I don't want feathers, nasty feathers all over it.
Hell, I never have to wash it. I
just
just put it in the sink crusher closet. Never have to wash it. That's what happens when you don't kill anything.
It's easy.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so let's see what Jerry's got to say.
How does barometric pressures have the effect on deer movement? Do you want a rising or a declining barometric pressure? Thank you.
Jerry's throwing it back to deer talk. I was going all in on turkey there. Threw me.
You got deer on the brain.
It's definitely a major factor, and it's one that Mark and Terry have been looking at for years and years and years. It's one of the 13 influencers that we have factored into the DeerCast algorithm. But there's definitely a trigger, when it's on the rise, and it depends on the part of the season that you're in. So early season, it doesn't take as much as it does in, say, the late season when pressure can be much higher.
Relative.
So it is relative, but definitely when it's on the rise, especially if it's bottomed out or you've had a few days of low pressure, when it starts to rise and you get into that 29.95 and higher range, you get into the 30s, you will see more deer moving in general. You pair that with, the other factors and influencers, the moon or, cloud cover or whatever, temperature versus average temperature, and it can really be magical. But typically, when you're getting high pressure coming in, it's being ushered in by a front of some sort, and that certainly helps deer movement. So in general, Jerry, deer movement is better on a rising barometric pressure than a barometric pressure that's going down.
How you don't have an honorary doctoral degree, I don't know.
I don't either.
If someone's listening that
Come on,
is like
Mizzou.
the dean
What
of
the
a
hell?
college or something, they need to make that happen.
Well, you've listened to Mark and Terry for 20 plus years, and I picked it up by default.
By diffusion, yes.
I've not really been successful with any of these.
But you know some stuff.
I can regurgitate it.
Well, and kind of to Jerry's the other aspect of the question is that there's no real good research on what exactly it is that causes deer to move on a rising or during high barometer periods. Like, we don't understand the physiology of what's happening that makes them want to move more. It's still kind of a question mark.
I know when Mark and Terry talk about it, they're especially like in if you have a super high pressure day, something that's out of the norm, they're like, man, the deer's heads are about to explode, or it's like something internally in your system. Even think about it from a human perspective. On those days, it's like, man, I woke up with a headache, and it's like, the pressure is through the roof today. I mean, I think it does have some sort of effect on your body, and potentially, I guess that's what affects them to get up and move.
Yeah. So much to learn still. And even when you if you're European mounting a skull, you see all the ports that are on the exterior of the skull that lead into different sinus cavities and things. You know that there's pressures affecting those in different ways. Yeah. We're still like monkeys with a keyboard. We don't quite know the answers to these questions yet. So Jerry, thank you for the question. That was a good one.
All right. Did we skip over are we good for the real wild clip? Alan says we're good. I knew that this crackpot team could figure it out.
Crack shot.
I like crackpot.
Okay.
Because they're kind of not all there, but they're really intelligent guys. Savants. Alan's shaking his head. He doesn't know.
I was just happy to be here.
So, he's not. So the reason why we switched gears on the real wild clip is because this happened to me on Saturday. I took the family to the farm for the first time. Lola was amped about going to shed hunt, and we're at the truck where I parked at the front end of the farm, and I'm loading up the tracker, the side by side. I'm putting stuff in it, getting a cooler and all that stuff, and getting ready to take the kids around. And she's just kind of meandering around the truck, and she's like, hey, I found a shed. She starts yelling, and so I grab my phone and start recording like any good dad would. And
sure.
So this is the real wild clip. Lola's first shed experience.
Check it
first
out.
Real shed experience.
What happened? I found it. Oh my goodness. Lola's on the board. We literally just pulled up. Lola, good job. She's like, I found something. That may be how Aaron got his flat tire last time. What do you think?
So what you would be seeing is she's pulling this out of the grass. So the shed's probably a year old,
Yeah.
And she's really yanking on it. And she's like, her eyes, she's just like, she's an actress. So I'm, it's like, is she acting right now or is she astonished? But I think she was blown away by the fact she actually basically stepped on one.
I mean, everyone should be, because it's like, it just doesn't happen like that.
Yeah. So the cool part about this is not cool for Aaron Bennett, but Aaron and I went to the farm the day that I closed on the property, and we went up there because we weren't far away, and we were going to go put out some more analogics and check the trail cameras and stuff. And he pulled his truck and side by side, and trailer in and turned around in this grass. And when we got back to the truck an hour and a half later, his tire was flat. And we're like, God, he must have ran over a shed or something. So I'm not even lying. This tine is the G2 is broken. It's cracked a little bit. And at the very tip of it, it's black where it had popped his tire. So it's literally the shed that popped his tire.
That's full circle.
That's his luck.
Even further, I got to text Cody West and check with him because he took the shed. But the first day we toured it, the day I put an offer on it, we had run over one. And Cody, when we got out of the truck, he found it. We didn't know we ran over it, but he got out and like the G1 was busted off of it. He found the shed as soon as we stepped out of the truck. And I thought, hey, this is a great omen, a shed right here. I think it was the match set to this.
That's crazy.
This one. So I gotta text him and get a picture. I need to get the shed back. But we're up to like 7 or 8 sheds.
I'll say how many sheds come up.
I think 7 or 8 so far.
Every time somebody's been to that farm.
Literally every time someone's been there, we found one. And I think we found like two deadheads, 3 deadheads now. So yeah, I honestly, here's what my gut tells me is that nobody has ever it hadn't been shed hunted. I know it had been hunted.
Yeah.
There was a guy, relation or something that was, or somebody leasing it, an older gentleman, but I don't think they were shed hunting it. So I think we're just the first, to be, and I bet when we burn, we find a couple more, would be my assumption.
Oh, I wish we could burn that south field because I'm sure there's a pile
Loaded
of
in
them
there.
laying in it.
Yeah. So we're just going to have to walk it really well.
Just drive around. That's how you find them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Easy.
So that was a real wild clip today.
Okay.
My sweet Lola. My princess found the shed. Cameron wasn't having it. He's kind of a jerk the whole day. I think as soon as she found that, it was like, I'm done. He's real competitive. Because the whole time going up there, I was like, who's going to find the first shed? Meaning, I didn't even think we'd find much of anything, but I'm trying to get everybody amped up.
You're managing expectations as a dad.
Yeah. And sure enough, she barely steps foot on the property and found one. And then I found one as we were driving around. I mean, we didn't look too hard because I feel like it's still early.
Yeah.
So really all I was out there doing was putting some more corn and analogics out and driving the easy spots and just showing these guys the farm.
Yeah.
And sure enough, we found a couple. So he had the mully grubs until I let him drive the side by side.
Was it 2 years ago I took Bo and Sophie out shed hunting? Sophie found one, and I'm trying to video of her like, hey, you found your first, because Bo actually found one the year before. He was already on the board. And then she found this one, and I'm trying to take a nice, sweet video of Sophie finding her first shed, and there's Bo in the background just, why does she get to find, I don't get to find anything. It's like, well, way to ruin the video.
So one of these is one of the ones that Scott and Logan found the last time they went up, and then the other one is the one I just found on Saturday, and I'm pretty sure, I'm basically positive, that's a match set.
It really does look like it.
And it was where they found theirs versus where I found mine couldn't be 50 yards apart from each other. So I'm pretty sure they dropped. So anyways, that was pretty cool. You found one this weekend, right?
Yeah, Tony, my buddy Tony Cantrell and I went shed hunting, and he found a left side, and then probably a half hour, 45 minutes later, I found the right side, probably a third of a mile away in the timber, maybe more, just randomly, just out in the woods, not on a trail, not near anything in particular. And so, yeah, it was cool to find. I told him together we make one successful shed hunter.
Man, so last year we had Eric Booty from the Drury Outdoors team on.
The Slob Shed show.
And he was talking about like some tips and tactics to find the big ones. And he sent me, I mean, I can't show it. Sorry, guys. I'm talking about it. It was a slob. And he's like, found it on a north-facing hillside, which was his big thing, one of the tips or whatever, that the big deer he finds kind of secluded from the rest of the herd. And so I thought that was interesting, but it was giant.
This deer dropped on one side on a south slope, the other side on a north slope. So I don't know what that means.
He's not exactly a slob either. So
no, he's not. Nor will he probably ever be eating acorns.
So anyhow.
All right, well, let's jump into the wildlife word.
All right.
It's brought to you by the DoD signature series of turkey calls from HS Strut, designed by 6-time world champion Mark Drury. And approved by the DoD team, the new tongue series of mouth calls are designed with cutting-edge technology.
Sounds dirty.
Yeah. Well, I know Mark's thing was he's so particular about how they turn over, and I know he paid real close attention on this series and how they're cut.
Yeah, man, that's a whole art in and of itself. I don't know if you watched any of the stuff coming out of the NWTF convention, but they showed the I forget. They call it like the Pult series, or I forget exactly the designation, but the youth competition, mouth calls and stuff. And the little boy that won it, they gave, how you see a lot of people have those like wooden flags that that are designed where half of it's a logo and it's like a American flag, but they're pretty heavy, right? And this kid, that's I guess the trophy, and he's like holding it up and he's kind of tearing. And the NWTF, I think they created a meme about it. It was like, I'm not crying, you're crying, and it was just so awesome. But to hear those kids, like the way they can call, it's amazing, man. There's some really talented people out there.
It really is. It's a musical instrument. And especially as a kid learning it early on.
Much like the xylophone.
Exactly. right. That's right. Yeah.
We got a lot of feedback off the xylophone.
Matt's musical
Journey.
journey.
Something like that. But yeah, you're right. It is like an instrument.
And so the earlier they
Some
can
people
start, yeah, some people got a late start in life. Some people just don't have it. But if you get an early start with it in life, I think your brain kind of wires itself to be better at it.
Yeah. So, all right, what do we got today?
After a wildfire, native forage regrowth can A, increase by 50%, B, return but only as fungus, C, only grow underground on the ceiling of caves, or D, decrease by 50%. So after a
like this is
wildfire,
easy.
what happens with native forage?
We always let the guests go first, Logan.
C is looking pretty attractive, but I think I'm going to have to go with A.
That would be neat.
Yeah, I'm going with A. Yes. I mean, everybody you talk to, it's like it just, if you have native grasses, they just
Blow.
blow.
That's right. Yeah. Up to 50%.
Nice.
That's a lot.
Hold on. Don't I have a. Oh.
Okay.
60% of the time, it works.
You sure it wasn't
Every
60%
time.
of the
I
time?
thought you were going to do $200 to $200.
$200 is $200.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, we got some shout outs from our buddy, the rookie outdoorsman,
Aren't we all?
who is also my buddy Jace.
Ah. What's up, Jace?
Thanks for listening, man. He says, real. This is like sitting at deer camp and listening to your buddies' stories. Matt and Tim joking around makes it easy listening while driving around.
I got a point of contention here with you, Tim.
Okay.
I wouldn't have told the audience that it was your buddy. I would have just. I mean,
A little biased.
We look like, hey, Logan, can you leave a comment for me on
Do
the podcast?
you think anyone's surprised?
No, but most of these we don't know the shout outs that we do. So I'd like to just say that.
That was a joke. You idiots fell for it. I don't know who this person's name is. It could be
We appreciate
Chaz
it,
for all I
Jace.
know. Rookie Outdoorsman. Go follow him on Instagram.
All right. We do need more shout outs from friends and non-friends.
Yeah, we love them. Especially when we get 5 stars.
Yes. That one guy on the Rack Pack said he was going to leave us a 1 star because you made fun of him, but he said I made fun of him, but it was really you making fun of his name.
It's
jerk.
lost to time.
Yeah.
No one can
I
know.
don't think he actually gave us a 1 star, or did he?
Cade Bubella. He did not give us 1 star.
Okay, thanks, Cade, for not blowing us up.
But you're like, ooh, it sounds like a fancy bagel spread or something.
And then you said something negative, but he thought I said
It was neutral. It just depends on how you interpret it.
So,
All about perception.
Bella. All right, so actually, we're doing that part of the show. We got to welcome the newest Rack Pack members. That's a private Facebook group,
Very
the Drury
private.
Outdoors Rack Pack. You can join and be a part of more shenanigans.
Yes, and get things.
We are talking about, we have this giant Cabela's dehydrator here, brand new, 160 liter commercial grade. We are trying to figure out how to make some sort of like Rack Pack giveaway. So you got to enter the Rack Pack in order to win this thing.
And you have to come here and get it because
It costs us about $1,000 to ship it to you. This thing is massive. Mark, I had texted Mark. I was like, "Hey, do you want this dehydrator?" Because they're always processing, wild game up there. And I thought, maybe they'll want to, do a bunch of jerky. And he's like, "Sure." And then he got here. He was down in St. Louis from Iowa, and he came by, and he's like, "No, thanks." He's like, "I can't put things. Like, that thing's huge. I don't know where to put it."
I was gonna take it home and set it up as like in-laws' quarters in my backyard.
I would change the components out and make it a beer fridge. I think it's a perfect size for that. Put a keg in there, kegerator. Nobody in this group's killing enough deer to make enough jerky.
No.
So anyways, do you want to join the Rack Pack? Because at some point, we're going to have some sort of giveaway for
Yes.
the elite of the elite users and listeners in the Rack Pack.
And if you have a whole baboon that you need to dehydrate, you can stick it in there.
Hold on.
But you don't say that.
All right, so I'm going to list out a few names of new Rack Pack members and butcher a couple, and probably there's going to be a fake name in here somewhere. All right, there's Tate Collins. There's Rudolph Farrell Jr., very prestigious. Nathan Hopkins, Travis Trent, Richard Bibby? I don't know.
Smith?
Gary King, Carasini Piro.
That sounds
Kerosene.
fancy also.
Kerosene. Okay, so this is what I have to do to find the fake name. Kerosene Pierrot.
Gotta. It sounds
Pierrot.
sounds Cajun.
Kerosene. I'm coming up with kerosene.
Okay.
This is 3 words.
Sounds
3
like
words. First word, Kara.
Kara.
Second word, scene, but it's CENE. So I'm going with kerosene. Third word's a thrower. Pierrot.
Kind of throw an input in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Piro's a Cajun canoe.
Is it?
Is that where you're going?
Spelled
with
differently,
What
but
about
differently,
Piro, that's what I
but
said,
if that's
yeah.
you're
What
going
about
with Cajun,
kerosene? Like you just blow up the Pierrot?
I don't know where I don't have the connection there.
Like the Stone Temple Pilots song, Kerosene.
Okay.
No, wait, never mind.
Don't pretend like you listen to anything except for like old ass country. Quit trying to be cool.
Is Merle Haggard, is he considered old?
All right, we got Austin Petrie
Oh.
and Jeff Kaczynski.
Jeff. There's never been anyone in the history of the world named Jeff Kuczynski.
I'm
That
going
can't
with
be right.
Kerosene Pierrot, but I don't know for the life of me.
Could also be pronounced.
Pyro? Kerosene
There you go.
Pyro.
Ding, 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 ding,
Got
ding,
it.
ding.
Hold on.
The theme?
Look, I didn't get that on my own. This is reminiscent of my education.
Cheating
I was
Alan.
looking at Alan. He was giving me hand signals. Pie. So I got it, though.
Oh,
That's all that
yeah.
mattered. I graduated.
Nice job.
All right.
Honorary doctorate, here you come.
If it's not from Mizzou, I'm going to be pissed.
Well, is that your only...
Well, we're in Missouri. I don't know.
yeah, it's true.
I'll take any honorary doctorates. Though,
Well,
so.
so Ben, you might want to make ready here, buddy.
Maybe the School of the Wild.
Ooh, I like
An
that.
honorary
yeah.
doctorate.
Well, I mean, the last episode was 100% School of the Wild.
2 episodes ago, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. All right.
Tying
so
it in.
we talked about Matt's magical journey, your magical musical journey.
On the Rack Pack.
Yes.
All right.
So Ben.
All right. So Scott's back.
Oh,
into
Scott's
this.
back in. Scott's in the house. And Scott
He's
was
gonna
in.
trip over the tripod.
So Matt does not know what's coming right now. This is completely unrehearsed.
Great.
We don't know what's going to happen.
One time he had like a freaking deer skull that he just ripped out of the ground somewhere that was decaying. That was nice.
Yeah, liquid was dripping out of
Yeah.
it. So you never know. So Scott, you ready? All right.
Oh, a xylophone. Look,
Maybe I
It's been a
tickled
while.
the xyls a little bit here.
the ivory tile.
Is this how you got Miranda?
This is all I remember is that I had to memorize. I'd look at the sheet of music and I'd just look at the letters.
Because you couldn't read the notes.
And then I'd memorize. I can't read notes. I can't read.
Can't
I think
read?
I have that one.
I can't read.
By the way, if you're just listening to the show, this is a great reminder that go to DeerCast and watch the show.
There's a visual. There's always a visual.
Matt's got 2 xylophone hammers in his hand right
If
now.
I had a sheet of music, I could. Shoot.
Man. Come in. Wow.
About like your guitar playing. We could form one shitty band.
We got a xylophone. We got a guitar. We got Scott over
lead-
here on the jug.
Lead singer.
Yeah, lead singer.
We need someone to play the washboard.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, there's the shenanigans for the day.
Wow. You gonna play
I
us
didn't know
out?
if you were going to make me read this, some
A poem?
theater that you wrote, or
That sounds ridiculous.
I had no idea what I was getting into there.
Well, that's the whole. It's 100% wild. No one knows for sure what's going to happen.
Victory!
I'm not crying. You're crying.
No, that kid was holding out like this.
I mean, that's going to traumatize you.
Yeah.
If you had the kind of music teacher like
No,
I had,
it's only traumatizing the people that are listening, just like the rest of the show.
we're going to change our show description. If you like deer hunting
And being traumatized.
and you and you appreciate the high art of xylophonery,
Is that a word?
no, it's
Is
not.
that- Okay.
Okay.
Then tune in.
All right.
All right. Next
Well, have
week.
you had enough yet?
I don't know. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Look, Logan.
Usually
I'm
we
curious
let
where the xylophone even came from. That's
Tim
what
pulled it out of who knows where.
I
keep a lot of
carved out $1,200 from our family's emergency savings and went to the store and purchased it.
Oh, well, you wasted your money, sir.
Yep.
They have a no
Joke's on
refund
you.
policy, so I just hope the joy Matt gets out of that is
You'll hear
worth
me
it.
back there in the office just cranking away on the old xylophone.
like when you discovered YouTube. I didn't do work for another 4 days. All right. Well, sorry everybody for the show. It's episode 309. 310 is going to be awesome. Thank you.
Well, I don't know what's coming in 310, but it's going to be great.
We're going to try
According
our
to you.
darndest. All right. Well, stay safe out there if you guys
Especially
are
if you're
burning
lighting
stuff.
fires.
Yes.
One last tip to leave with about burning that something you just should never do.
Wear shorts.
Don't wear shorts. Don't wear big thing. Don't wear polyester. 100%
yeah.
cotton clothing.
Yeah.
You don't want that polyester
Just like a
melting in your
pilot.
skin.
100% cotton clothing.
100% cotton.
100%.
Ideal. Or Nomex. I mean, Nomex is ideal, but
Or
not
asbestos.
everybody's got Nomex.
What about jeans?
There you go.
What about your chaps? Could he wear his
What
chaps?
about a Canadian tuxedo?
Oh, hey.
You can wear what you want when you show
Ready
up to
to
the
go.
fire. But
Are you saying I won't be doing anything? Sir, that's offensive.
It hits awfully close to
we'll
home.
know how
give you
to
a
run the-
radio and tell you to watch this line.
I can ride on that side by side and
There we
boss some
go.
people around.
We need warm bodies. Let's
The
just
podcast is just going to be a cavalcade of people that help you kill deer.
Well, they're not working so
I
well.
was just say that. The joke's on us then, I guess.
That's right. All right, it's time to shut it down. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, till next time. Peace out.
DeerCast is now supercharged with maps. Get ahead of your game with killer new features like live Doppler radar, wind check out to 5 days, virtual rain gauges, GPS path tracking, and more. Plus, get our 14-day revolutionary DeerCast prediction and access to DeerCast Track. Prep, predict, and pursue with DeerCast.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV was brought to you by Leupold.